Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
All right, welcome to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio with me, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth. This week, guys, we're going to talk about two things. First of all, I'm going to get a little educated. Okay, I'm going to be selfish here a little bit because I'm going to learn a lot in this episode, but specifically about something that I've never heard of prior to booking our guest, and that is something called CQ. I'm not going to tell you what it is because you're going to learn with me. So you've heard of IQ, you've heard of EQ, I'm sure. What is CQ? We're going to learn about that together. So I'm not going to tell you what it is. You got to stay tuned. We're also going to talk about something that I know is going to be near and dear to your heart, and that is strategies on how to create passive income. So something that's super, super important to give you, financial health and wealth, well into, well past retirement, et cetera. Don't have to worry about things. Passive income is, creating wealth that basically you're making money while you sleep. I'm sure many of you guys have heard about that. We have an absolute expert this week to talk about both of these different things. Our guest this week is Dr. Robert Ramirez. He's a business professor, author, speaker, and CQ, I'm not going to tell you what it is, thought leader. He is the author of the book, Achieving Financial Freedom, Building Wealth Through Passive Income in the New Digital Age of Financial Intelligence. His new book will be out soon, is called Retirement Crisis in America. Dr. Ramirez, welcome to Mr. Biz Radio.
Thank you, Ken. So happy to be here. And thank you for everything you do. For years now, you've been providing so much good information to everybody that watches your podcast and listens to your show. You've interviewed some fantastic guests, had some great conversations. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate that. Thanks for the kind words. So before we get into all that, tell me a little bit about your journey. So obviously you got your PhD, you're a doctor. Tell us about your career, your entrepreneurial journey.
Sure. And I'll share a little story about that. In 2008, I was a director of information technology, and I had done that ever since graduating from college, worked for some large companies in Southern California. But if you remember anything about 2008, we had the major recession, right? And it was the first time in my life I was laid off from a job. I thought the other company interviewed me multiple times, and I thought they'd take myself and a few other key employees and just move them to the new company, which was in Phoenix, Arizona. But I was surprised when they didn't take any of the employees. They just took our data and they took out our technology. So all of a sudden, I found myself without a job. And I owned some rental property, and I also had some of those people that were not paying us. So at the time, I had 6 kids. 5 of them were teenagers. Couple of them just getting ready to start college. So, and my wife was in her journey of becoming a nurse, but we had to do a short sale on our house. I don't know if you know what a short sale is, but it's one step above a foreclosure where you negotiate with the bank to settle your house for so much money. And I remember standing there with my wife, and I said, you know what? I'm never going to depend on one paycheck or one income again in my life. I'm going to create passive income, multiple streams of income. And then after my IT career, I started working for a university, and then I started teaching. And then I started incorporating what I was doing into teaching my students. And they thrived on learning more about passive income, getting out of debt, investing. So I started teaching these things to my students, and they loved it. So that's where my book came from, Achieving Financial Freedom. And so that's how that came about. And now I'm working on another book because I'm close to retirement, because I want to learn more about our retirement crises. So that was kind of my journey, but never depend on one income. You got to have passive income, really important into your retirement, because you want to keep money coming in.
Oh yeah, for sure. So going back to 08, that 08 scenario. So I know a lot of people got into a bad spot back then just because of the absolute collapse of the economy back then. But holy shnikes, you had like the perfect bad storm, like the Category 5 hurricane blowing through your household and your life. I mean, you've got a bunch of kids, you've got rental properties, like you said, that people aren't paying. So, and obviously you can't not pay on those. Right. You've got your own personal home. You've lost your one stream of income. I mean, how did you keep your head on straight? I mean, seriously, I mean, honestly, that's like, had to be super stressful.
Yeah, and because when I worked in IT, I was a director for a lot of different companies, and I was always in upper management. But then as I started to apply for jobs, they were looking for somebody that had management skills, but also had all the technical skills, all those Microsoft certifications. I didn't
Mhm.
keep up with that. I
Sure.
didn't think that was an issue. But everybody was trying to figure out how to downsize, so they want to eliminate layers of management. And so that's what they were doing, looking for people with management skills, but also technology skills. So also I was a little bit upset because in the 90s, I worked for companies and we were outsourcing a lot to China, to India for IT, to the
Mhm.
Philippines for customer service. And that really bothered me because these were American jobs. And many times I was responsible for laying those people off. So I got burnt out with IT. And now by working for a university, I'm able to give back and help others. And I enjoy that so much more. So that's how I got into becoming a professor, and I'll probably do that till I retire. But it's very enjoyable.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like, I probably at some point will get into that, honestly, because I think at least somewhat tangentially, a similar path. And I've been mentoring folks for, gosh, I'm trying to think when I first started to mentor people. I mean, I've been mentoring people for a long time, as evidenced by my gray hair, but nonetheless, and I really, really enjoy it. And even to this day, some of the folks that I mentor, and some of the folks I mentor now are even people that are older than myself, but they're not at the same stage, business wise or entrepreneurship wise, whatever that I am now. But um, and I get so much enjoyment about it. And it's almost
Mhm.
like I liken it to, I've always been involved in sports. I was involved in sports for
Yeah,
a big chunk of my life. Is coaching, and the feeling you get, the intrinsic feeling you get when one of your players and or your team does really well. I'm assuming it's pretty
oh
similar
yeah,
for you with your
yeah.
students.
That's exciting. Watching, I'm a Dodger fan, so watching the Dodgers win their division, it's exciting. And all through my life, I was coaching my kids, and I was so animated and so I'm having such a good time coaching my kids through sports. And it is a great feeling when you're coaching somebody, mentoring somebody as you do so well, and
Yeah,
giving back and teaching them. Yeah.
yeah, I was going to say, and I can imagine, I've spoken with some different places, different universities around Central Ohio here, gone in to speak to different entrepreneurship class, business classes, et cetera. And even in just the limited engagement I've had, you can see when the light bulb starts to flicker and then boom, lights up, and,
Right.
and even in that limited experience, not even being a full-time professor like yourself, that's pretty rewarding, even for me.
Absolutely. But we've gone mostly online, and it's discouraging when you get onto a Zoom and all their cameras are off because you can't see their faces and you can't tell how engaged they are. So it's kind of like my mission. Okay, how many people can I get to turn on their cameras and get more engaged? And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can imagine that's difficult because I hear from people all the time in the business setting of getting people, grown adults, 30, 40, 50-year-old people to turn their cameras on for, maybe whatever reasons. I can't imagine trying to get, I'm sure you have students of all ages, but especially students in that, 18 to 25 range, like to get to turn their cameras. I'm sure it's challenging. Again, we're
Exactly.
talking with Dr. Robert Ramirez. We're going to hit a break here. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the secret of CQ. We're going to reveal what that is.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. Again, talking with Dr. Robert Ramirez this week. And we are going to talk about CQ. I know I teased at the end of the last segment. Before we get into that, though, I was thinking during the break, I did want to touch on or kind of retouch on something that you brought up. And I know we're going to talk primarily in the third segment about strategies for passive income. But I did want to bring up something you mentioned in the first segment, Dr. Ramirez, and that is the idea of multiple income streams. And I'll just share a quick story. I bought into that, and I'm fully supportive, but I made a mistake. And the mistake I made was I'm an avid reader, so I read a bunch of books, and I'm like, okay, I have to develop revenue streams. So at one point I had 12 different revenue streams. So I'm like patting myself on the back because my goal was create as many revenue streams as I can. The problem is I was so narrow into nine of them that they weren't making a ton, but I'm like, let me get them started and then I'll, create momentum. Well, because I was spread so thin across all of those, I didn't make enough traction in any of them. And so then I felt like I just completely wasted my time. Continued to read more books and, basically someone I respect a lot and had consumed a lot of his content, read all of his books. He said, look, multiple revenue streams is very important, but you got to get one and nail it.
Yeah.
And then begin to develop 2 and 3, but don't go to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like do them in phases here. Let's get these really going before you start trying to just expand. And I went wide and shallow instead of getting deep enough in each one. So I had to retrace my steps. This was about, I guess, 2-3 years ago when I was in a group and we were going around and like, how many revenue streams do you have? And I'm like, oh, man, I can't wait to tell everyone, man. I'm so excited. And, they talked about, oh my gosh, you have the most in the group. There's like 15 people in the group. And what's your total revenue from all these streams? And I forget what it was at the time, but I told them and they said, well, okay, so what's the percentage of your largest stream of the total? And I'm like, oh, well, let me think about that real quick. Mental math, I guess it's, and it was like 90% or 92% or something. And so the guy who's leading the group, he goes, so wait a minute. You said you had what, 11 or 12? And one of them is 92%. So you have 10 or 11 that are cumulatively 8%. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh crap, this is not good. Clearly I've done something wrong here.
It sounds like you were in a mastermind group, and it's good to be in those groups because those people are trying to do the same thing as you are, and people can feed off of each other and provide ideas. So it's good to get hit with those tough questions, like, okay, maybe I'm spread out a little bit too thin, and I need to refocus myself. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've kept them all going, but I went back and said, okay, let me go 2 and 3 and focus my efforts on 2 and 3. Get those built up. And then I'm going to go to 4 and 5, and then I'll work my way up through all of them. Eventually, when I do, I'm going to be doing really well, and I'll be able to. Again, we'll talk about passive income more a little bit later because I do want to talk about CQ. And I have to admit, Dr. Ramirez, I read tons of books. Before I booked you on the show, we booked you on the show, I'd never heard of CQ. I'm a big IQ, and I'm a huge proponent of EQ, and I think it's extremely important. One of the overlooked things for people to be successful in life, not just business. And then, honestly, one of the things that got me when the team, they present me with guests and like, who should we book? And I'm like, CQ, what the heck is that? Like, I'm really intrigued. And so tell us, what is CQ?
Well, all these theories evolved from IQ, right? And CQ was the last one that came out probably about 12 years ago. CQ stands for cultural intelligence. So I was giving a speech to a bunch of human resources people, and I said, hey, I want you to stand up and go meet the other person. All I want you to do is say hi, and just take 5 seconds to say hi, and then go back down to your seat. And I said, do you realize that in those 5 seconds, you decided whether you liked that person or not, whether maybe you wanted to hire that person or not, whether you would be interested in having another conversation with that person or not. That all happened within those very few seconds. So when people walk into your office for an interview, you might have that very first impression, but you've got to, that's our fast mind, but you got to slow it down and to think rationally and logically, because there's much more to the person than appearances when they first walk in. You just don't know. And we see that all the time. You walk into a party and you look around the room and you see some other people that are maybe like you. So you go towards them. And that's just human nature. But with cultural intelligence, now, especially in this international world, for example, I'll go back to my IT days. We worked with programmers from India. We worked from product in China. We did customer service from the Philippines. And these people were from different countries, grew up in different ways, different religions. And in order to get the best out of that team, you really have to take the time to understand them a little bit more, know where they're coming from, and see yourselves in their shoes, because otherwise you're not going to get the most out of them, because you don't understand where they're coming from. There's a good comic strip that I like to share. There's two men on either side, and they're looking at a number that says 6. But on one side, the guy says, "I'm looking at that. Clearly, it's number 9." And the person on the other side says, "No, I don't know what you're looking at, but that is not number 6." Right? So just because one person is right doesn't mean that the other person is wrong. It's just being in their shoes. And that's what CQ is. It's taking the time to learn about their culture, to see what makes them tick, and to recognize their habits. Being in a meeting with people from Chinese, spent 2 days doing a presentation. At the end of the presentation, did you like what you learned? Are you ready to sign the contract? And they said, yes. Well, in China, that just means, yes, I heard you. It doesn't mean, yes, we have a deal. So, you have to understand all those nuances between the different countries. And, a gentleman from Japan getting off the airport, you've got a meeting with them. They will bow down with their business card. And it's an honor for them to hand you a business card, and you're trying to shake their hands. Well, you haven't taken their business card, and you're hurting their feelings, because he's saying, "Why isn't that guy accepting my business card? He should be very pleased." And so if you understood that at the beginning, then you would mutually bow, you would accept gracefully his business card, and then maybe you can shake his hands. But it's just all those nuances that you have to understand with regard to people from all over the world.
Yeah, so it's super interesting. So again, it's a couple of months ago, I think, when we actually invited you to come on the show and everything, and I said, I have to learn about CQ, because it was something new to me. So, as I was going through it, I'm like, I actually was utilizing CQ a lot in my corporate career. I had teams in around the world. I had 6 or 7 teams when I left in other countries, and I would learn the customs of those countries for the very reason you're talking about. Unknowingly, I had no idea what CQ was at the time, but I'm like, I was actually applying this. I was learning some of the customs and
definitely
things, hand gestures not to use that are offensive, and learning that, how to greet someone properly and things like that. I think so important, especially as things like, as you mentioned, are so international now. We're going to hit another break here. We're going to come back, maybe finish off CQ a little bit, but I do want to talk about strategies on creating passive income.
Okay.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20 plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to Mr. Biz Radio. Again, talking this week with Dr. Robert Ramirez. Hopefully you guys learned a lot about CQ. I know I did. Again, I did some research once we booked him on the show because I was so interested in it. But going back to that story I was talking about and again, it was so funny how the dots all started to connect when I started to research CQ, because when I was at JP Morgan, I was inheriting teams from people that were here in the United States that were managing teams in another country, that the team in the other country was basically, revolting is too strong of a word, but basically not performing. And I'm like, and so people are like, hey, your international teams love you. We're going to give you this team. Take these guys. Yeah. And as I looked back, as I was doing more research, in the last couple of months, I'm like, that's why. It's not because I'm some great person or a great leader or whatever. Hopefully I'm pretty good, but it wasn't necessarily that. It was, I took the time and I honored their customs. We celebrated the holidays, the major holidays in those countries. Whereas the other teams, people that were leaders in the United States, they're worried about the 4th of July. Well, someone in India doesn't give a crap about the 4th of July.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not trying to be abrasive, but that's not their holiday. They don't know what Thanksgiving is, right? And so we cross-pollinated. So we would pick one United States holiday. We would have a quarterly meeting with everybody, a big old, it wasn't Zoom at the time, but a big old video conference. And we would talk about one US only holiday and briefly describe what it is, why we celebrate it, the customs, the traditions. And then they would present that one of their country only celebrations that's big for them and why they celebrate. So we learned history, and just those simple things like that. I think that's a big reason why they were like, hey, these guys care. They care about our traditions, not forcing all the US stuff down our throats. And so, again, it was like a great aha moment for me of like, oh, this is what CQ is. And I didn't even know I was doing it, but I guess I was.
Ken, you did the first 2 steps exactly. The first thing you have to do is you have to be motivated to learn about the other group that you're going to be working with. And then after that, first you have to be motivated. And then the second step is you just have to learn about their customs like you did. But do you realize how good you made them feel? Because you're recognizing them as a person, or from a certain country, and their customs and their food, right? So you taught them something about your customs, but you included them, and that's exactly what you need to do, to learn their customs and make them feel good, and that's how you get the most out of teams. Yeah.
All right, I want fascinating stuff about CQ. I didn't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but I did want to share that stuff because it was like this, again, great aha moment for me. Like, holy crap, this is awesome. And I guess I kind of did understand, but I didn't know that I understood it. At least on the surface. I did want to talk about some creating passive income. Again, we talked about super important. I know you're a thought leader in this space as well. If you would, we've only got about 5 or 6 minutes left here, but if you could give us some top strategies on like someone that's out there right now that's working a 9 to 5. Again, we're in the situation you were in 2008. They got one revenue stream. They're like, that's all I got. What are some tips, some strategies they can utilize to start to build those passive income? Income?
Well, real quick, because I know that we might run out of time. So many people. Do you realize that 11,000 baby boomers are retiring every day? I'm a baby boomer. You perhaps are too. 11,000 every day. And 46% of them are going to outlive their retirement. And if people just stop working when they're 65 or 68, 70, and they don't have any more income coming in, they're going to be one of those people that are going to run out of money. And do you want to put that burden on your kids or your family or your grandkids? No. And it causes stress. And stress is the number one thing that makes us sick. And the number one thing that people worry about is that financial stress. So it's really important. People think, oh, well, I'm retired now. I'm 66 or 67. I'm retired, so I'm done bringing in income. Well, you can bring in income for another 20 years and do some of the things that you'd like to do, some of the hobbies. When we think about the most successful business person, the people, Jeff Bezos, Amazon, or Elon Musk, Tesla and SpaceX, they became millionaires and then billionaires. And then after that, after they started with a company that grew it so big, they invested in more passive income things, land, property, real estate, safe investment that, they don't have to worry about. They diversified their income away from the business and buying things that are a little bit more consistent and a little bit safe. Because as you get older, especially, you want to be able to sleep at night, and you don't want to be out living your money. Social Security only accounts for about 40% of what people can live on with the Social Security. And in 1935, Roosevelt, when he signed Social Security into law, people were only living till they were 66. You could start collecting Social Security at 65. Well, there was no problem back in 1935, right? But now we're all living 20, 25 years longer because we eat better biological drugs, we exercise a lot more, and we're more educated, we're more aware of our health. So things are safer. So we're all living so much longer, and our kids or our grandkids, they could live to be 100 easy. That's how quickly things are changing. So passive income is super important to start at any age, where you've got your main income stream, might be a job or the company that you started, but you need to have other things where you've got money coming in that you can continue to build on, especially once you retire. And it could be something that I also write books. That's an example of passive income. I enjoy doing that. I enjoy speaking, but it could be anything that you enjoy, you could turn into passive income. A lot of people will say, but I don't know what to do. Well, what did you do for 35 years while you were working? Could you be a consultant, and do something like that? A mentor? Could you, what hobbies do you have? Because now we've got, well, it's amazing now, because before we had Professor Google, but now we've got AI taking the best of Professor Google, and we can reach the entire world. Right. So it's amazing what we have at our fingertips to reach everybody in order to help us create passive income. And it could be, like I said, any hobby, but my two favorite ones, probably real estate and investing. Investing, some people say, oh, I can't, I leave it to somebody else. But if you treat investing and learn that skill set, they're only going to review how they're doing every quarter. But if you're looking at it every week, maybe every day the way I do it, you can be in and out of the market, and you've got many more options, and you can do very well. Like right now, some stocks are doing super well. We've got even the market is doing good. We're making new highs. But we've got the Magnificent Seven, which is the Google, Tesla, Amazon, and they're performing super well. I think I wrote it down. I think 44%. They're at 44%. I mean, wow. So if you're saving your money at 0.5%, or maybe online at a bank, maybe you're getting 4%.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you knew what the Mag 7 was, you'd be getting 40%. Think of the money multiplier that makes. And everybody can learn how to trade. It's just a skill set, and you can learn any skills as long as you put your mind to it. You can learn that skill, and you could be a much better money manager than somebody that you hire. So I like doing that on the side. And then real quick, because I know we're running out of time, I do believe in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they've been the best performing assets in the last 3-4 years, and it's not going to go away. It's been adopted by countries. There's new ETFs as of January, and that's done very well for me. And so there's all kinds of ideas that people can generate.
Yeah, I love the idea of finding what you love to do and monetize it. Essentially, is something that's easy that anyone can do, as you said. Dr. Ramirez, we're out of time, but I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic rest of your week. And don't forget, as always, cash flow is king.
To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100 plus streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.